Okay, Michael, we can start.
All right. Hi, everybody, and good evening. It's midnight here, and but I hope it's a reasonable time for you. Welcome to our continuing work with the vigil for the United States. And all I really need to say is that it's still needed. I think it was yesterday that the present occupant of the White House called the governor of Georgia and asked him to call a special session of the Georgia legislature to overthrow the vote which saw um, uh, Joseph Biden win. And that was a blatant and direct request which the former Speaker of the House, Harry Reid, said it bordered on criminality. It's a direct attempt to manipulate the will of the people. That being the case, obviously, an internal atmosphere in which such suggestions are rejected is very important, and the governor and the lieutenant governor both rejected this unlawful suggestion. So this is just to say we continue to hold the line, we hold firmly, and we help to create the psychic and thought atmosphere in which the law can prevail and lawlessness cannot. We know that there comes a time at the end of an age when there is a withering of the law and an uprising of lawlessness on all sides. But then it is that the great Lord, the rider from the secret place, manifests himself from age to age for the salvation of the righteous and the destruction of such as do evil. So let us be on the side of those who set themselves against this movement of cosmic evil, which would overthrow democracy all over the world if released into power. And then I'll just give this to you, Tuija, and we will proceed.
We welcome everybody. Hopefully you said Michael. And we will have these few slides and we read together and discuss together. So you can have your videos on if you want to just have it. And we had a little problem with Michael because we didn't remember where did we actually end yesterday.
My problem. Uh, Maybe we'll recognize the
Francis, do you
words.
remember, or Joanna, do you remember what
we
was the last slide?
just
Was it
go
the
to the
bottom?
third group of slides. I think we were
But
there.
because we went a little bit out of order, that's why I don't remember. Did we read this together?
We did that.
Yes.
Yes, we did that, but did we do that?
No.
No.
Right. Okay, then we can read it. I think that we would read all of these 4 slides in a row because it's a kind of similar things, and then we could discuss about it. So would you be Michael first, and then can I ask again, Francis and Joanna, and who were those who were reading? Yvonne,
Yes.
is Yvonne here? But if you would lift your hand, raise your hand, who would like to then read? We have 4 slides. So we have now 3 people. We need 1. Okay, Daniela, great. Daniela, you will be the last.
Okay.
So Michael, Joanna, Francis, and Daniela.
Okay. So this is entitled "A Passive Attitude in the Face of Evil." I would say to those who preach a passive attitude in the face of evil and human suffering, and who endorse a pacifism which involves no risks, with what do you propose to fight the forces of aggression, of treachery, evil, and destruction, which are today stalking over our planet? What weapons do you bring to this combat? How will you begin to stem the onslaught and arrest the whirlwind? Will you use prayers for peace and then patiently wait for the forces of good to fight your battle and for God to do the work?
And Joanna.
Are you okay? I tell you that your prayers and your wishes are unavailing when divorced from right and potent action. Your prayers and petitions may reach the throne of God, symbolically speaking, but then the reply comes forth. The forces of light will strengthen your arms and turn the tide in your favor if you stand up and fight for that which you desire. Who will arrest the progress of aggressive selfishness if the men and women of goodwill rest back upon their idealism and do naught that is practical to justify their hope or aid in the materialization of the desired ideal?
Francis.
There are those in the world today who, despite past national selfishness and wrong, are fearlessly and with true insight fighting humanity's battle. And with them, the hierarchy stands, as it has ever stood, on the side of liberty, right understanding, and correct attitudes in human affairs. I would say to those who cry, "Peace, peace," when there is no peace, are you going to profit by their death and sacrifice when the ultimate triumph of the forces of light comes to pass? Are you going to take the position that you can then live in a safe world because others gave their lives that you might do so?
And Daniela.
Are you going to issue forth from the safe security of your pacifist alibi and gratefully acknowledge what they have done and grasp your share of the gains which they have purchased at such a cost? I would warn you not to be glamored by the false premise that you must stand by your hard-earned convictions, even at the expense of other people's lives and the downfall of nations. Forgetting that fear and false pride will make this argument of importance to you. Are the peace-minded people of the world going to reap the benefits of a peace for which they have paid no price?
Thank you. Right.
So maybe we go back and look
The first.
specifically. Yeah, there might be something that jumps out at us, you know, that we might want to say, and then what is it to you? They unmute themselves. Is that it? If they want to speak.
Yes, some can do that, and then some others we have to mute. So it will pump up if anybody raise their hands.
Okay, I'll leave it to you to start out with until I figure out how.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
But in this,
Anybody want to say something here?
Yeah,
I mean, it was a terrible time. You know, it was at this time, the Nazi forces were really blitzkrieg over all of Europe in both directions. And it was a whirlwind. It was a lightning war and an onslaught. So it was, you know, it was more overt than it is now. But of course, we have to remember how it all began. Anybody?
yes, I have a comment.
Okay, Carl.
What weapons do you bring to this combat? And I know one of the things that DK mentioned in his writings is that we have to bring the same intensity, same level of intensity that the obstruction forces bring. And except we use it in a positive way rather than a negative way.
Yeah. He did say fight fire with fire. And he said, you know, fight this fire by friction, this lower aspect of fire with the fire of the will to love.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, actual love. You know, there's the will to love, and then there's actual the love itself. So, but at the same time, right, not to send love per se to the perpetrators of evil, because it's simply an energy and they can use it for their own purposes.
Right.
So then, that being the case, you know, what do we do? You can't send love to the ones who are doing the evil bidding of these forces of cosmic evil. But we have to do something. And with intensity, as you say. I know Tuya has an answer to this.
sorry,
Of course.
I'm writing here.
I'm waiting
Sorry.
with bated breath. I'm what
And
his
we're
answer.
They are the so
Yeah.
Carl, they are the devas, right? So, dear friends, this is our indoor joke because we have had those ceremonial classes, and it's almost always when I am asking something from the group, the answer is about the devas and how the devas are building. So that's why
I would have never guessed that. I mean, this is so new to me.
you have still not learned.
That's
Yeah.
sweet.
Wait,
So
I think
shall
they're
we-
sitting on my shoulder right now. Yeah, what is that?
They are. So, Michael, did you want me to say something? I think.
Well,
we
you
can-
know, because it's a question of how one fights this against this aggression, treachery, evil. You know, even though it's just, you might say, in its beginning stages now. That's the way it began in Italy and Germany, you know, just in the beginning stages. And look what it grew into, you see.
So if I put a few things together, what I have been emphasizing already, I hope that I'm not bothering anyone because I'm repeating the same thing. We are living the final years of the Forerunner. So we know that there must be many challenges for the whole humanity, and we can see that the coronavirus is one of those challenges. What types of forms it is seizing, and I think it is all kinds of things what we have learned to use. So the new pattern for humanity is on its birth. And then the other thing is about that we disciples need to learn how to battle. I think it is very much according to the rate that we have. so I'm talking very much about from the first ray perspective, what I have learned, what is working, but now it is for every single one to learn the ways which are working. For me, what I have learned, blessing is one of the most powerful tools, and then standing, the inner standing. But it means that then we cannot take that from our psyche away. We have to work in those terms many, many days, weeks, months, years. And that's why it is something that everyone, I'm sure, will bring to the group knowledge from practical standing, their own methods, what they will see which are working. I think for us, important step to take that we actually ourselves will learn in that practical terms in just doing the work and being alert. DK says and asks us to mark everything down during the time of the full moon and new moon. All little impulses, whatever it is, to be obedient to the soul and be very alert. And this, if we think about how powerful the during the past years, the full moons have been and new moon times, and it just must increase. But if we do not realize that those subtle things are descending, that we are so occupied on the outer world, then it is just passing through us and we didn't learn. This is the time of learning new methods. That I think it is so.
Okay, well, we have now two people. Thank you, Tuija. Now let's see, Joanna, you have your hand up and Francis asked to speak. So Johanna, is your hand up?
Yes, sir. I can speak to that.
Okay, then, yeah.
I was just
You go ahead.
I was encouraged by the reading that said, you know, what can you do? What can you do actively? If your prayers and your meditations, what else can you do? And for the first time in my life, and I've lived a long time, I worked at the polls for the election, and I worked for the blue team, and I worked for the Sierra Club in the environment, and I was there 5 or 6 days and 3 or 4 hours at a time. And it was really eye-opening because you could actually see the people walking in, thank them for voting, asking them if they needed any help. Here was a ballot from the Democrats, and watch the Red Party and how they interacted. And it was such day and night. And I've never donated money to a political cause. And I donated small amounts. And I think that's something we can do. And I guess it goes with my R1 and my R4 energies.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's so true. Thank you, Joanna. And Francis, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Your hand is not up, but you can, yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Joanna,
it was at some point.
Was it? Okay.
Yes.
And
No
Joanna,
problem.
take your hand down if you're no longer speaking to this immediately. Yeah, Francis, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just gobsmacked by what Walter Pullen showed yesterday, that map of the did not vote. Just the numbers, we have 331 million people in the United States. And I don't know, I didn't look at the map this morning to see which percentage are eligible voters, but he did point out that had they voted, they would have achieved 278 I guess, electoral college numbers, and they would have won. The do not vote, the did not vote cadre would have won. So that means that the 70 million plus is more like 1/4 to 1/3 rather than 1/2. And I suddenly noticed this morning a comment by someone on the red team saying, half of the country voted for our way of thinking. And I realized that all of the coverage that has gone on the last several days portrays it as half the country feels such and such, that the election. That's not half the country. It's only even one quarter to 1/3 of the eligible voters, if
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
so that is a misinformation. And the point that I'm getting to is, if there's any way I can now start to point out publicly or in the the drop down menus of some of these stories, what Walter so kindly provided us with yesterday, that's a shocker. No, half of the country did not go along with this plan to make a mockery of democracy. No, not even close.
So sometimes, there are these different response opportunities. Of course, what may come back to you when you use reason is not exactly the pure light of reason. So you have to be ready for live ammunition when you offer the truth on some of these forums. But it is something that people have to realize. Otherwise, the old, Goebbels knew it well. If you're going to lie, make it a big lie and keep on repeating it. Now that is a technique, and we see it at work until people's rational power is just worn away by simple repetition of an outrageous statement. So, we have to fight fire with fire, and the falsity has to be fought with the light of truth, and sometimes it's very difficult to speak the truth in certain environments. Of course, it's what we consider to be the truth, but of course we do have a great teaching behind us that has sensitized us to the soul. I would say that. Now let's see, I think Heike, you had something here that you wrote, or maybe want to say, I don't know. I think this time is so far also fought with deception and lies. Our means can only be truth. Okay. And as much as we have to search for truth within, we have to bring it out there. The quality of truth as liberating. Well, we're told, the truth will make us free. So you and I were basically saying the same thing here. We have the three great saving forces, or combining them together, they make the one great saving force. It is the light, it is the love and unification, and it is the sacrificial will. We bring those three things together, and it is a huge weapon. It's a word that DK is actually using on behalf of the divine plan. So we have to be aware that in this withering of the law, which we are experiencing, there is also the withering of truth. We see it all around and we are appalled. How can it happen? But where are the moorings for people? To what do they adhere? Do they adhere to some kind of concrete mind formulation of a dogma which must have been long outlived? Do they idolatrize some speaker who gives vent to their own envy and anger? You see, there's a certain envy motive going on here when people talk about the elite. The elite have had, a lot more incarnations, and they somehow carry forward the result of those many incarnations, and they make their way up the social ladder just like any person could do in time. But the envy factor of the personality towards the prerogatives of the soul is a factor that we're just going to have to deal with. In other words, younger souls are going to have those attitudes. We're all equal on the monadic level. It's just a question of experience in incarnation, and that's just a fact, and it cannot be evaded. So
Michael,
yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead, dear. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking also that it has to be related also to the this problem and some friction between the earth chainers and moon chainers.
Yeah, and that's a very occult
But
thing.
Karen
has something. Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Karen.
This morning when I was listening to Fareed Zakaria, he was talking about, and I've heard this from many places, and I myself know this, that Trump has shown us what we need to do to fix the system, particularly, well, the electoral system, for example. And, now's the time that we can encourage our senators and representatives to do things to fix the system so that there's some sort of set standards to protect our vote, although it seems to be holding up, which is great, but there's so many vulnerabilities and problems within the system that exist. So that's one kind of action that can be taken. But I was wondering, if we're going to talk a little bit more about taking a stand, and which side do you stand on, and how, I mean, in the terms of the esoteric community, how do we do this? How does this manifest?
Yes, Karen, we have those slides coming. It is just that it looks like that we are moving slower, and it's good that we try to elaborate everything what is related to this subject. Yes, we will go to those slides where he particularly talks about that, taking sides.
I think, Karen, we might be surprised. I know that I personally am making a big assumption that people who have studied Master DK are, as it were, going blue, or realize that Jupiter and the heart center and the indigo ray are to predominate not only in the United States, but as the coming soul of humanity and all over the world. But I am really making an assumption, because I have friends, yes, we're still talking, who are vehemently red along this Martian line. And it's difficult, of course, to speak about that, but they have their reasons. And they are, some of them, some pretty profound students of esotericism. So, when we make oftentimes from out of the country, I must admit, but some from within the country, studying Master DK's teaching and seeing in it the reason to be read, as it were. Just using the Martian symbolism here and the idea of the solar plexus. So, we can make assumptions about the majority, but they are not ironclad, these assumptions. So the question of where the esotericist stands and why is a valid and important question. Okay.
Thank you.
I wonder if I could say something else about tools.
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, under masked intent. Okay, DK says that we must stand with unmovable, unbreakable determination that help will be given in time of need. We don't wish, and he also says that prayer won't reach the Lord's of liberation.
Yeah, he says that.
That is important aspect about this new way to a new method to work. DK says that the first time is now and after the world wars, when the humanity became invocative. So we have not been even there earlier. Whatever that means, we have to contemplate that, how this is actually working. It is for sure that when we have the heart attitude, so nevertheless, how far we are from advanced human being and disciple, there is that side that when this innocent and really from the heart is rising, it is rising. But then there is something about that how we are communicating within. The new method is about that we use the invocation, like we are coming together, we have silence and we opening that vacuum. And then, but we have to learn also this spiritual demand, what you are pointing out, Carl. It is something that we are standing in the center of the wheel, and we learn to demand, because we have right. We are down here on this side of the veil, and we have right to demand things.
Yeah. That's yeah. Okay.
Shall we look further this? I
Yes,
have there the
let's
second
continue
one.
there. Yeah.
Second one. I think this is the.
You know, this reminds me, if I may say something. You know, when we do the meditation for financial resources for the work of the hierarchy, he says we have no right to evoke that which we do not share. So there's a parallel here. And he's basically saying that if we pray, hope, ask, request, and we divorce those prayers and those intentions from right action, it will not be useful. It's separated. It's like you have no right to evoke what you don't share. You can't make it effective unless you spring into action. So I'm happy to, hear people's different methods of working. Now, some of it is on the outer plane, and DK said to the people, many of the people in England who were part of his group, they had the fight right there with the bombing that was coming across and the rockets and all the rest of it. And he basically said, look, there's so many people out there that are doing more for the war effort in a tangible way than you are, because they rested back on their meditation only, on their prayers, on their petitions, and all the rest of it. It seems that we have to have a dual method. We work inwardly, yes, through the power of thought, and that's probably the most powerful method we have, but also the outer methods also stand. And like I was saying, okay, Joanna went out there and became a polling person for X number of days and saw a lot and contributed accordingly. And, I'm sure that a number of us have done something similar, which put us in action on the outer plane when it was possible. So both sides of action are needed, meditative and practical. All right, what do we have here? Who will, okay, do you see anything?
Shall I?
Who has their hand up or would like to speak?
Okay, Francis.
Oh, Francis.
You cannot mute. Ask to unmute.
No,
Sorry about
Francis.
that.
There we go.
Okay, now.
Okay.
You want reading? I tell you that.
Oh, is this it? No, this
No,
is.
we have read. We thought that you have something.
If you
to
wanted
say.
to say something about it.
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking for volunteers to read.
Yeah.
Okay, I will move to the third
I was
slide.
just asking for the silent movie to turn into a talkie. Okay. All right. Then you can read this.
All right.
No, this is no. This is still the same. I am just moving Michael through this. These
Okay.
slides.
Right. So now we're looking.
I would say to those who cry for peace, peace.
Where there is no peace. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is clear for us. Sorry, I'm just putting this, emphasizing the color. So is there anything to be added? I think there is something, what I think that we have been going through, that there is this mystical way when we just throw we don't even demand help, we just cry it, and it is the phase that we are going through in our spiritual development. But this is like the child stage. we can compare that when the little child is calling help from the mother and the father the same way, but there is about how to call help the way that one is willing to be oneself who is helping, putting oneself into action in the way that one is ready to be sacrificing oneself.
You know, and I would say to you that even those who cry out invocatively and don't quite know why they're crying, or, you know, in other words, they're not trained in that way, still their massed voices do reach those high areas, and so it counts for something.
Yeah.
Counts for
Yes,
something.
and that was what I said in the beginning, that when we are innocent in that, so that will rise. But there is something that one is just sounding all kinds of prayers and is not thinking about that, and there is not emotions along. But when we are in danger, and when that kind of cry is sent forth, that has power. And DK always talks about that. He talks about in the relationship of the triangles that the power is depended on of that, how much there is this conscious presence. And also when we put any thought forward, how much there is that kind of power, holding power, and how it is moving in the or through the time and space. He
You know, I would just like
always,
to, yes,
yeah.
dear. I would just like to, it was something I meant to say before, and it was in relation to what Carl was saying, and now to you, this question of massed intent. We have not yet achieved this. And now I just want to sound an astrological note that Vulcan has not yet been popularly discovered. As students of esotericism, we have faith that it is there. It's all throughout mythology, and we know something about its nature, and we have the rays of Vulcan that DK has given us, but it has not yet been discovered in a way which means that what it is spreading throughout humanity as a method of working and perceiving. And that is really standing with massed intent together to invoke these factors. That is coming up. We don't know when Vulcan will be discovered, but it will be discovered popularly at the right time. And that will mean just the way revolution appeared when Uranus was discovered, just the way anesthetic and the whole idea of spiritualism and mysticism and all that was rediscovered when Neptune was discovered, 1846 or whatever. So Vulcan is coming. Pluto, it brought mass war and mass death when it was discovered. Now we await that second of planets, which will appear. We await that second of planets that will appear before the Christ himself reappears, and before the humanity takes its first initiation. Vulcan, mass intent.
Thank
Okay.
you. So shall we just go forth in these slides, because we have been
Yep.
already here 40 minutes. So we will now go into the slides, which is about no sides. Shall we read again the 4 slides in a row and then discuss? I think that is faster way for us.
Okay. Have we done slide number 4? However, have we commented on that?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Okay.
Well, let me see. That is, and then
This one.
yeah, we read that. Yeah, and I think we were reading this, but let us go. We would take tomorrow those what I was showing, but let us go into that in esoteric psychology number 2. Are there any new people who would like to read? Can you raise your hands now? Okay, Heike. And are there any other? So then I would like to ask if there would be again Francis and okay, and Veronica, great. So still possible. Carl, are you there? I'm calling you.
Yes, I'm here.
Invoked, you're
Okay.
being invoked, Carl.
Yes, I
will,
just invoked myself.
yes, you did. And then we can have Francis. Would you like to have Francis also that then read? So we have now 4 people. So Francis, if you start that.
All right, from Esoteric Psychology 2, 674 675. The world of men today can be divided into 2 major groups. They are those who are fighting for some political party, some form of national government, some religious, social, or economic attitude. They are against all that is not of their inclination. There are those who are opposed to them and who are ranged against them. Partisanship, fighting for or against, and party spirit distinguish the modern world of men.
And thank you. And Heike?
With these activities which lead to separation and division and strife, the new group of world servers has no time or interest. They stand for those attitudes which will eventually produce a third party, free from political and religious hatreds. As yet, they are unknown, unrealized, and relatively powerless to make a definite impression on world thought. If, however, there is skill in action and an adherence to the principles of harmonious cooperation, they can, in a very few years, demonstrate real power and influence.
And Anne, would you be kind? Unmute yourself, okay?
The work can then swing into the second cycle of pronounced and defined influence. This will be possible only if those who have this vision will make every effort and every possible sacrifice of time and money to bring it about. Between the exploited and the exploiting, the warlike and the pacifists, the masses and the rulers. This group will stand, taking no sides, demonstrating no partisan spirit, fomenting no political or religious disturbance, and feeding no hatreds, either of individuals, nations, or races.
Thank you. And Carl.
They will stand as the interpreters of right human relations for the basic oneness of humanity, for practical brotherhood, for positive harmlessness in speech and writing, and for that inner synthesis of objectives which recognize the value of the individual and, at the same time, the significance of group work. The propagation of these ideas and the spread of the principles of goodwill will produce this third group in world affairs.
Thank you. Wonderful text, isn't it? So the third party.
And I think, if I can say to you, that this will emerge, but this was written in the 1930s. And what happened is the situation became so acute because of the pressure of the cosmic evil that they had to revert to a different method, basically to enter the war. I'm talking about the hierarchy that always stands with principle. But coming up in the Aquarian age, again, it seems to me that these ideals will be put forward, even though they had to be temporarily suspended because of the intensity and severity which almost took humanity down. It almost destroyed humanity, if not for the Lords of Liberation. But it's coming again, yeah. I do believe.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, that we have to see about the intensity, what kind of things we are talking about. When there is a question of lives to be destroyed, So then the methods has to be different. Then they have to be very, we have to take an active role and do whatever we can to stop that kind of influence. But then when we are in the normal times, everyone makes mistakes. That's why we cannot say that we are in the perfect world and everything has to function according to the soul, because that time is still not yet. But in that normal time, this is something which is on the way, and we can compare according to these things what DK is putting forward about the how it is then when this is true thing among humans, among disciples. So shall we discuss about it?
Dear, I think
Okay,
that,
and do you have something, and Veronica, do you have something what you would like to comment? We have your hand up.
No, it must be by mistake, sorry.
yeah.
Okay, it was about the reading.
I think, dear, that we can get into this, in the fuller way next time, and that if we're going to have our meditation,
yes,
we should have it. And I know some of you would rather have the meditation first and then the questioning, but I think that this order, in the Arcane School, they said, okay, read first, then meditate. This is what the instructions were from Alice Bailey, because it gave content to the mind about which to meditate. So I know that it's inconvenient for some of you because you've got to leave here or go there or whatever, but this seems to be the method that we can use. Maybe on the weekends it doesn't cause you so much problem, but weekdays, work days, perhaps.
And we have some slides, maybe 2 days we will have this discussion, and then we maybe go directly to the meditations. But we will leave that for everybody. If you can do that and read by yourself from these pages and just think about it, because I think that it is giving beautiful vision of the future. How we are working on earth, how we are acting between each other. So if there are no other comments, we will, I don't see that we would go to the meditation. Is that what you are suggesting, Michael?
Yeah, I am, because then it'll come out about an hour and a half. And
right.
Yep.
Good. So we thank you all that you were participating, and we will start our meditation. And by
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock tomorrow, right?
Yes.
This is the weekend time, and then we start 8 o'clock GMT tomorrow.
2 hours earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will close my video now. Michael, do you want to close your video?
Yes.
So I will put the music now. And we will put ourselves there where we were leaving yesterday, just realizing again that we are standing together, hand in hand in the sacred circle around the covenantal triangle. Today we take a new mudra, and today is the Independence Day of Finland, and this is our symbol that is indicating the hands of the singer of poems or sacred songs It is a mudra for union, union between people. The right hand is above and left hand below. And Michael, if you would be so kind and read this mantra of unification.
The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all men love.
Let us now make a triangle between our soul, mind, and brain, so that there is a direct and free inflow from the higher to the lower. Align with your solar angel. And with the solar angel of the United States, visualizing this vast angelic cooperation. And try to understand why and how your soul is now linked with this mystery, with the Dharma or the great directing entity, the soul of United States. The Dharma of I light the way. We acknowledge the Christ and his mission to bring heaven to earth. We dedicate ourselves into that work. In his name, and let us say together, we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya, be with us. And we welcome his presence. Let us now align with the triangle of United States and with the centers. New York, the throat center. Los Angeles, the heart center. And Washington, the head center. Because we have this new experimental work with the violet, which is something that one has to be very careful when we use these. So we use and perform the crossover divinity. We are making cross from the forehead to heart, from left eye to right eye, while we are then also uttering these sacred words. So we can place our hand, fingers on the forehead and say, as a soul, I work in the light, heart, and darkness cannot touch me. Left eye, I take my stand within the light. Right eye, I work, and from that point I never move. Visualize this shining cross, which is protecting you, and you see that before every single one, protecting the group as well. Now we align with the soul sign of United States, which is Aquarius, and through which the sun ray is relating us to the new coming age. And what we do now, let us build very carefully. TK writes in White Magic, occult attacks and occult powers warring militantly against the aspirant will occur. And we can say that the countries can be aspirants as well. They may make their power felt in one or other of the vehicles, and in rare cases where the aspirant is important enough, on all at once. Sometimes they will be attacks directed against the individual worker, sometimes against groups of workers. Align yourselves with Master R. And we build this very carefully. Relax your physical body. Quiet your astral body. and steady your mind. Being aware of the cross of divinity. And now we will create a triangle between the group personality and our unified soul, and Master R. And see him on the apex of the triangle. We call upon the white light, which is pouring in through all the vehicles, and purifying everything which hinders. And see it pouring through the group into the covenantal triangle and purifying everything. And then moving out into the whole country. And now we will link ourselves with the one, with the Lords of the Masters, with the Great White Brotherhood for which we are working. Everything is purified, and we sense the inner stillness which has been achieved. You visualize those masters of whom you know. Let us raise our vibration higher still and connect up, if possible, with the Johans. And with the Mano, according to the line of politics with which we are now working, and along which the attack may come. So now we have the triangle between our souls, with the Johans and with the Mano. And now we call through that linking chain and through all the vehicles a stream of violet light. Beautiful violet, pouring in to the group and into the triangle of governmental triangle. And this moving through the governmental triangle into the whole country, coloring the aura of United States with beautiful violet, which is full of light. This method is only used when the need is dire and the necessity great. We realize that the vacuum has been created. And in our creative imagination, we now visualize golden color streaming in, filling this vacuum. We realize that the golden colored devas are acting, they are high mental devas, and they are working with us. And we continue our protective work. We call now the forces of light of Archangel Michael, the angels of protection. Archangel Michael and his saving force. We call for wall of protection, protective energies, to keep all illegal actions in leash under the will of God. Michael, whose name means like God, Archangel Michael is also the protector of the Christ and the forces of Christ. Christ is the bringer of light. He said, I am the light of the world. We have been committing to that mission of the Christ. to bring light and help in this. So again, we place ourselves we are around the governmental triangle, standing together. We are standing for the good law. And again, we think about what Master D.K. said. There are no limitations when true esoteric work is undertaken. To this end, I seek to emphasize renewed application to meditation and a constant, steady use of the invocation, particularly the one which begins by invoking the Lords of Liberation. So now we align with the ray of the soul of United States, which is the second ray. And this funnel vacuum that has been created, we visualize the Christ standing above the governmental triangle, and we invoke the soul of United States. DK says that that is one of the responsibilities of the new group of world servers, that they have to call the soul ray into action. We call the second ray, soul ray of United States. And we visualize this indigo, beautiful indigo, blue descending via the heart of the Christ. And now into the triangle, filling it. And through the group, pouring into United States, the whole country in all stages. Calling forth through and from every government of the states. The soul values and the soul of United States. And we visualize the whole aura of United States in indigo blue color. And we stand in silence and in this blue indigo light for 1 minute in silence. Great invocation number 2. Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, Almighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, Almighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, Almighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, Almighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. Let us now, for the protection, build now a wheel of fire with 7 spokes of love. We see the Christ standing in the center of the triangle. And before us we create in our imagination a wheel of fire. Yourself and the inner working group standing in the center and the hub of the wheel, which radiates with the living, all-consuming substance of love. From the Sacred Heart of the Christ. yourself and the group as if we were that hub. From that central position, we send out 7 streams of living fire, radiating above the triangle in all rainbow colors. The governmental triangle now being protected by this living wheel of fire with 7 streams of love. The wheel spinning the protective energies, which are now being spread into the whole country in every single state. And the clarion is heard. We will stand for the good law, establishing the victory of that law through United States. Bring illumination through the evocation of the will. Bring imagination through the evocation of love. Bring inspiration through the evocation of the intelligence. And we state again, may thy will be done, not ours. And we can release the mudra. We give our gratitude and blessings to the group. And now when we go apart, we still in our inner lives continue holding the sevenfold streams of life and love. And we come back again tomorrow. Thank you for everybody.